Justice doesn't always show up with a loud voice. Sometimes it just watches. Bobby Martinez stood dripping in the middle of the cafeteria. Someone had dumped a tray of food on him. Gravy clung to his hair. His phone lay shattered near his foot. The room didn't gasp. It laughed. Bobby stayed frozen, head down, hands shaking, no teachers, no help. Just silence, then noise. At the entrance, Emily Carter had just walked in. She saw everything. Her steps stopped. Her grip on the tray tightened. A slow drop of water slid from Bobby's chin and landed on his broken screen. It sounded louder than the laughter. Emily's eyes didn't move. Not yet. But something behind them had already shifted. Emily Carter sat alone by the window picking at cold fries. Her tray was untouched. Her eyes weren't on her food. They scanned the room like a soldier reading terrain. No one noticed her, and that's how she liked it. She pulled her sleeve down over her wrist. A faint bruise showed for a second, then disappeared. Cut to earlier that morning, a small bedroom, faded posters, karate belt hanging from a hook. Emily tied her laces tight, pulled on her hoodie, and stared into the mirror. No makeup, no smile, just eyes that had seen too much for 17. She whispered to her reflection, "Not today. Stay calm." Then walked out as if stepping into a fight no one else knew was coming. That evening the apartment was quiet. A single lamp lit the kitchen. Maria Carter slid a pizza box onto the table. Her hands moved fast, tired, practiced. Emily sat across from her hood still on. "You okay today?" Maria asked, not looking up. Emily nodded once. "Same as always." Maria smiled, soft but worn. "You don't have to be strong all the time, you know." Emily stayed quiet, chewing slowly. Her fingers tapped the table. 4 beats, then stop. On the fridge, a karate tournament photo, Emily mid-kick, face calm, eyes focused. Maria caught her glance. "I know what you can do," she said, "but fighting isn't always winning." Emily looked down, not at the food, at her hands. She didn't answer, but her jaw tensed. Night. Emily lay in bed staring at the ceiling. The city buzzed faint outside the window, but in her mind, silence. Then a voice calm and deep. "Control is strength. Karate isn't for proving anything. It's for knowing you don't have to." Sensei Williams. Always direct, never loud. Flash her feet planted on a dojo mat. His hand raised to stop her mid-kick. "You hit because you're angry you lose. You breathe you win." Back to her bed. Emily blinked. She reached over, touched the old tournament medal on her desk. Not to admire, just to feel it. She didn't need trophies anymore. She needed control. And tomorrow, she wasn't sure she'd have it. Morning. Hallway buzzing. Lockers slamming. Bobby Martinez moved like a ghost, shoulders hunched, eyes on the floor. In his hands, a cracked phone held together by tape. He checked it, sighed, tucked it away. A group of kids passed. One bumped his backpack hard. "Watch it, loser." Laughter. No apology. He didn't respond, just adjusted the strap and kept walking. Emily stood by her locker watching. Her fingers froze on the combination dial. He turned the corner and for a second looked back. Not at her, but past her, like he'd forgotten what it felt like to be seen. Emily blinked once, then looked away. But something in her chest had already clenched. Jake Dawson walked through the hall like it belonged to him. Football jacket slung over one shoulder. Connor and 2 others trailed behind, laughing louder than needed, shoving lockers for fun. Students moved aside without being asked. No one made eye contact. Jake stopped by a vending machine, punched it once, candy dropped. "Works every time." Connor smirked, tossed him a soda. "Whole school's yours, bro." Jake cracked it open, took a long sip, and scanned the hallway. His eyes landed on Bobby's locker. A smirk. "That kid still shows up." Connor laughed. "He won't for long." At the far end, Emily watched. Jake didn't see her, but she saw him, and she saw what power without conscience looked like. Emily sat alone at lunch again near the exit, back to the wall, always facing the room, always watching. She unwrapped her sandwich but didn't eat. Jake's table roared with laughter. Someone knocked over a soda can on purpose. Then Connor stood tray in hand, headed her way. Slow, deliberate. He stopped at her table. "You're new, right?" Emily nodded, eyes steady. "Jake wants you to sit with us." She didn't move. "I'm fine here." Connor smiled, but not kindly. "Come on, don't make it weird." He reached for her arm. And in that moment the noise of the cafeteria faded for the second time that week. But this time it was her turn to break it. Connor's fingers gripped her wrist. But before he could pull, Emily turned her hand, stepped sideways, twisted out. One clean move. No force, just control. Connor stumbled, lost balance, and hit the edge of the table. His tray clattered to the floor. Silence slammed down. All eyes turned. Jake froze mid-bite. His smile dropped. Emily stood still. Eyes on Connor. Calm. Breathing steady. She didn't raise her voice. Didn't posture. She just said, quiet enough to sting, "Don't touch me again." Connor didn't answer. Still sitting. Still stunned. And across the room, phones started recording. But Emily had already turned away. Not to leave, just to wait. Jake stood up slowly. No yelling, no threats, just cold silence. He walked to where Connor sat still on the ground, looked down, then looked up at Emily. The room held its breath. Jake tilted his head. "You got moves." Emily didn't reply. He stepped closer, close enough for only her to hear. "Kinda want to see what else you got." Then louder so the whole cafeteria could hear maintenance building. "After school. You show, or I come find you." A few gasps. Laughter followed, but it was thinner this time. Nervous. Jake walked back to his table, calm, like he'd already won. Emily sat down again. Quiet. But this time she wasn't invisible anymore. Outside the cafeteria, Emily leaned against a wall. The hallway was empty. Her hand shook. Just slightly. She clenched it into a fist, then let go. Not fear, not yet. Something heavier. She looked down at her shoes, clean white still, the only part of her that hadn't moved. Behind her, the muffled echo of voices, phones buzzing, whispers growing. She closed her eyes. Sensei's voice echoed again. Power is knowing you can hurt someone and choosing not to. She exhaled slowly. In, out, in again. And when she opened her eyes, they were different. Not angry, not scared, ready. The next day, same hallway. Different victim. Same silence. Bobby shuffled toward his locker, arms full of books. Connor stood waiting. Smirk back in place. No cameras this time. Just routine cruelty. He knocked the books from Bobby's arms. Oops. Laughter soft tired. Even the crowd was bored of it, but no one stopped it. Bobby knelt down, picking up pages one by one. Emily, a few lockers away, froze. Her hand paused mid-combo. She watched. His face wasn't angry. It was hollow. Like this was normal. And that's what made her chest tighten. This wasn't about her anymore. This was every day, and it was already getting to her. The bathroom mirror was scratched cold under the flickering light. Emily stood alone, hands braced on the sink. Water dripped slowly from the tap. She stared at her reflection, not fixing, not hiding, just looking. One deep breath, then another. Her fingers trembled once. She clenched them tight. Only strike when there's no other way. Sensei's voice again familiar, steady, impossible to ignore. She reached into her backpack, pulled out a worn hair tie, wrapped it twice, then once more. Her face was blank, not emotionless, contained. She turned off the tap, wiped her hands and whispered, "Don't lose yourself." Then walked out like someone heading into a place she swore she'd never return. Evening light spilled into the kitchen. The pizza box was still warm. Maria poured 2 glasses of juice, glancing at the clock. Emily was late. When the door finally opened, Emily walked in quietly, dropped her bag near the couch. No words, just tired eyes. Maria studied her daughter's face, the tight jaw, the still hands, the way she didn't sit right away. "You're okay," Emily nodded. Yeah. Pause, then softer. Just tired. Maria didn't press. She just placed a glass of juice in front of her. You want to talk? Emily shook her head. But Maria saw it anyway. Something in her daughter had shifted, and she didn't need to ask what. She already knew. The next afternoon, school had just ended. Students spilled into the parking lot laughing, rushing, unaware. But Emily walked alone. Not slow, not fast, just certain. Her backpack was lighter today. Nothing extra. Nothing she didn't need. She passed the football field. Empty. Wind stirred the torn banner on the fence. Her shoes crunched gravel as she neared the maintenance building, gray quiet set apart. No music, no noise, just her footsteps. She didn't check her phone, didn't look back. This wasn't drama, it wasn't revenge, it was choice, and each step felt like it belonged to someone no longer willing to stay invisible. Jake was already there, leaning against the wall, arms crossed. Connor stood beside him holding a phone, already recording. A few more students had followed. Curious, hungry for spectacle. Someone whispered, "She actually came." Another, "This is going to be bad." Jake smiled when he saw her. Not cruel confident. "You're right on time," he said. Emily didn't answer. She dropped her bag, slowly kept her stance loose. Connor lifted his phone higher, catching every second. From the background notifications buzzed clips already live, comments already flying. Emily glanced once at the camera. Just once. Then locked eyes with Jake. The crowd faded. Only the moment stayed. Jake stepped forward loose and grinning. "You sure you want to do this?" Emily didn't flinch. "I didn't come to run." He circled her slowly, sizing her up like she was some kind of puzzle he couldn't quite solve. "You know, most people just cry when I look at them like this." Emily's voice was steady. "I'm not most people." The crowd edged closer, phones out, breath held. But Emily didn't posture, didn't clench her fists or raise her voice. She just stood, shoulders relaxed, feet planted. The kind of stillness that didn't look like fear. It looked like control, and that's what made Jake pause. Just for a second. Jake's grin disappeared. No more talking, no more waiting. He lunged fast, heavy, predictable. A wild punch aimed at her shoulder. Emily sidestepped. Smooth, clean. His fist caught air. The crowd gasped. Jake turned, swung again. She ducked, backed up one step, still not attacking. "Come on," he spat. "Fight back." Emily stayed silent, just watching, measuring. Jake rushed again, fists up, clumsy with ego. But in her eyes there was no panic, only timing. And when his balance shifted forward, she moved. Fast, sharp, quiet. Jake's weight leaned in. Too much, too fast. Emily turned with it, hooked his arm, pivoted her hip. One clean throw. He flipped over her shoulder and slammed onto the ground, hard. The air left his lungs in a single soundless gasp. Phones caught it all, the thud, the silence, the shock. Jake didn't move, just lay there, eyes wide, staring at the sky. Emily stood over him, calm, breathing steady. She didn't raise a fist, didn't gloat. She knelt beside him, voice low but clear. "Now you know what it feels like. To lose without anyone cheering." No one laughed. Even the phones stopped shaking. Jake groaned, trying to sit up. Emily didn't stop him. She stepped back, gave him space. No threat, no fear. He looked up at her eyes, confused, jaw tight, waiting for her to finish it. She didn't. Instead, she said quietly, "I could have hurt you. I didn't." Jake blinked, breathing heavy. "Do whatever you need to do," she added. "Just know I'm done." The crowd was frozen. No one expected mercy. No one knew what to do with it. Emily turned, picked up her backpack. Before leaving, she looked at him one last time. "I didn't come to win. I came to stop it." Then walked away. No cheers, just quiet. Heavy and full. The video went up within minutes. No edits. No music. Just the raw moment, Jake flying, hitting the ground, Emily walking away. By the hour's end, it had over 50,000 views. Comments flooded in. She didn't even touch him until she had to. That's real control. Justice. Finally. At home, Emily sat on her bed, phone off. But the world had already noticed. Across the school, students whispered. Some smiled, some stared. Bobby watched the clip from his cracked screen. His mouth didn't smile, but his eyes did. The silence she left behind wasn't empty. It was echoing. Jake sat alone on the bleachers after practice. No teammates, no noise. His hands rubbed the back of his neck, the bruise still fresh, but not the worst part. He watched the video again. No sound, just images. His body hitting the ground. Her standing over him, her walking away. Pause, rewind, watch again. He didn't speak, didn't throw his phone, just stared. For the first time, the weight wasn't from losing. It was from how she didn't need to win. Behind him, a football hit the ground and rolled. Jake didn't turn to look. He just sat there trying to understand what strength really meant. Jake sat alone on the empty bleachers, helmet at his feet, the sky fading orange. Practice had ended. No one stayed behind. Not today. His phone screen glowed and his palm paused on the frame where he lay on the ground, stunned. He hit play again, watched the same fall, the same stillness in her eyes. No rage, no victory, just restraint. His jaw tightened, fingers curled. But he didn't throw the phone. For once, anger didn't rise, just silence. And in it something unfamiliar crept in. Not fear, not shame, respect. He lowered the phone and stared out at the empty field as if waiting for the noise in his head to finally stop. By morning, the halls felt different. Not louder, just sharper, like everyone was suddenly paying attention. Students leaned against lockers, eyes flicking toward Emily as she walked past. No mocking, no smirks, just silence and subtle nods. A shift. Someone whispered, "She didn't even hit him hard." Another added, "She didn't have to." Bobby sat at his desk, glancing at her, then looking away like he wasn't sure if he could smile yet. Teachers didn't bring it up, but they knew. Connor passed her in the hallway, didn't say a word, didn't make eye contact, and Emily. She walked the same, eyes forward, but the weight on her shoulders felt a little lighter. Between classes, Bobby dropped his books again. It wasn't dramatic, just clumsy. They scattered across the floor near the water fountain. Jake rounded the corner, saw him, paused. Bobby froze, bracing himself, but Jake didn't move closer, didn't smirk. He glanced at the books, then at Bobby, and kept walking. No comment, no shove, no noise. Bobby looked up confused. The hallway was still. Emily saw it from down the hall. Her eyes met Jake's as he passed. He didn't nod, didn't speak, but for the first time he looked away first, and that was enough to say everything. In the library, a girl Emily had never spoken to slipped her a folded note. No words, just a simple drawing, a girl standing alone, shadow behind her shaped like a lion. Underneath, scribbled in pencil, "Because of you, I walked into school today." Emily stared at it, fingers tracing the paper's edge. Her heart didn't race. She didn't smile. She just breathed. Across the room, the girl didn't look back. She didn't need to. Change didn't always shout. Sometimes it whispered from one quiet soul to another. By the lockers, Bobby fumbled with his taped-up phone. The screen flickered, barely holding on. Then Jake appeared. No words. No crowd. He held something out. A phone. New. Simple. Bobby stared at it, confused. "What is this?" Jake shrugged, voice low. "Spare one. Yours looked..." Done. Silence. Bobby took it slowly, hands unsure. Jake didn't wait for a thank you. He just nodded once and walked away. No cameras, no audience. Just a moment between two people, one trying to undo what can't be erased, the other trying to believe it. Sometimes an apology doesn't need to be said. It just needs to be handed over quietly. Afternoon. Rooftop, quiet. Emily sat alone, legs crossed, hair pulled back by the wind. Below the school buzzed as always, doors slamming, voices rising, life moving. Up here, it was still. She looked out over the campus. No phone, no music, just sky and space. For the first time in days, she let herself breathe without watching her back. One hand rested on her knee, the other clutched the folded note from the library. Not to read, just to feel. Down below, Bobby laughed at something with two classmates. Real laughter. Unforced. Emily didn't smile, but the weight in her chest loosened. Just a little. Evening light spilled through the kitchen blinds. Emily rinsed a plate slow and quiet. Maria leaned against the counter watching. "You've been calmer lately," she said softly. Emily shrugged. "I guess." Maria paused. "Anything I should know?" Emily shook her head. "Not really." Maria didn't push, just stepped closer, placing a hand gently on Emily's back. "I don't need all the details," she said. "Just want to know you're okay." Emily nodded once. "I'm okay." They stood like that for a moment. No rush, no need to explain. Some things mothers understand without stories, and some stories don't need to be told out loud to be felt. In first period, the classroom buzzed softly, papers shuffling, chairs scraping. Emily took her usual seat by the window, alone at first. Then a voice, "Hey, is this seat taken?" She looked up. It was the girl from the library. No note this time, just a quiet smile. Emily nodded. "It's open." Behind them, Bobby walked in, shoulders straighter than before, sat 2 rows up. No whispers followed, no stares, just morning light cutting across desks, warm and ordinary. Emily glanced around. Something had shifted. Not everything, not all at once, but enough to begin again. The screen fades to black. A single line types across in silence. One moment doesn't change a school, but it can change how a story is told. Cut to shots, quick quiet, Bobby walking with 2 others laughing softly. Emily sliding her locker closed, a small nod exchanged with Jake in passing. Jake alone on the bleachers again this time, looking at the field, not his phone. Voiceover, Emily. They thought silence meant weakness, but silence can also mean control. And power isn't how loud you hit. It's knowing you don't have to. The music stays low, steady. Everything isn't perfect, but it's no longer the same. Black screen. Then, white text fades in slow and steady. Were you ever Emily, or maybe Bobby? Have you ever been Jake? Pause. Change doesn't start loud. It starts when someone says, "Enough." Cut to one final image, Emily walking alone down the hallway. But this time footsteps echo behind her, not following, just walking the same direction. Fade out. Text appears. Comment. "I've been there." Or just say, "I see it now." Soft instrumental fades, then silence, the kind that stays.